Hello and welcome to Open Your Mind Radio. You have myself, Alan James.
Myself, Stephen George. Good evening.
Good evening. It's Sunday the 23rd of October 2016. And we're just having a few problems with our guest at the moment. The time zone times went a bit awry at the moment. James is actually on a webinar as we speak. So we are going to try and get him on later. So we're just going to keep an eye when he's online, when he comes online, and then we'll get him in. We might have somebody dropping in before then just to have a chat about a few things. We don't know yet. We'll see what happens. But before we crack on, we actually, funny enough, when James comes on, we haven't had James on the show since April 2015. That's how long.
Wow. Are you serious?
Yeah, 2015. I mean, I couldn't believe it when I look back and realised that it's been that long since we've had James on the show. Talk about time flies.
Doesn't seem that long.
No, definitely not. So James Gilland is the planned guest for the show. We might have one or two people that will drop in. Now, what we'll do is we might get Karen in for a few minutes to talk about a few things, Karen MacDonald, before James comes online. So, but before we do that, let's find out what the communication channels are.
Yes, communication channels are...
The communication channels are email info@oymireland.com, by phone 046 927 1212, and you can also contact us direct through the OYM chat room.
Yes, the phone number again, 046 927 1212. If you want to call in from outside the Republic of Ireland, it's 00353 469 271212. We also have the text number if you want to text us during the show. Again, from inside of Ireland, it's 087 4034 854. From outside Ireland, 00353 874 034 854. Those phone numbers can also be found on the website oymradio.com, and also you can see the links there for the Twitter, the tweet, also for the Skype, the Facebook, anti-social media, and also for the email as well. And if you listen to the live show or you're listening to the podcast and you want us just maybe say hello, say hi, say hello, drop us an email, info@oymradio.com. Just let us know whereabouts in the world you are, and we look forward to receiving any and all emails. We also have two chat rooms as well, one on our own website, which you can find in the menu option on the left hand side, and also on People's Internet Radio as well. So many people logged into both chat rooms, so I want to say hi to you all. You're all very welcome. Alan.
Brilliant stuff. Okay, well, we're going to be getting Karen on in a few minutes. We do want to talk to Karen about something anyway, so that's quite convenient. And then we'll watch out for when James comes online when he's ready, and then we'll get James in. So, okay, on the hit list, right. Steve, you can start off first.
Yes, I'm going to start off with Russia Today, RT.com. They had an announcement that their bank accounts are being blocked in the UK. Now, we can only assume that the people who run the banks are trying to send a message to Russia Today because maybe they don't like what RT are saying. And again, as we've always said about RT, they don't report what's going on in their own country, but they're quite happy to report what's going on in other people's countries. So that may be upsetting a few individuals. Just the same as RTE over here. RTE won't report on what's going on in Ireland, but they will quite happily report on what's going on in other people's countries. So unfortunately, as we said, bank accounts are being blocked. I think that's a first. So mark the calendar for that one. So obviously the staff and people who work in RT can't get their money out, which is I think it's definitely a first anyway.
That's the way things are going at the moment. That's how bad things are if they're trying to shut down Russia Today. Now, we know that Russia Today kind of have their own agenda anyway, but it's a hell of a lot more transparent than what we're hearing from the normal mainstream media. So for them to go on the attack and to shut down Russia Today, to stop them from broadcasting in the UK, I think that's just, that's below the belt. It says an awful lot, really, about where we're going and the state of play with the media. However, anyway, next thing on the list is, again, another attack. Julian Assange is alive and perfectly okay. Obviously, a lot of people during the week said that the Ecuadorian embassy was raided and that he was arrested and taken away and everything else. No, he wasn't. But they did cut off the internet the internet access was shut down because we found out that the Ecuadorian embassy, or Ecuador, the country, was threatened by the USA. I don't know what the threat was or what they said, but obviously it must have been quite substantial for them to go and cut the internet to the embassy in London. That's quite bad. It's again Hillary, because it's 300,000 people in America, and the two people that are the main candidates for being president is Trump and Hillary. Unbelievable. And of course, Trump did a lot of roasting. I don't know whether you've seen it. He was at a dinner, some kind of lavish dinner, and he started roasting Hillary at the dinner as well. And she lost the plot. Apparently in the background, she was throwing water everywhere and threatening everybody and everything else. She's a nasty piece of work. I'm not saying Trump's any better, but she's a nasty piece of work. So, I don't know. People obviously are cousins across the pond. If you're planning to vote for Hillary, I'd really suggest you go and do the research and check her out, because, to be honest with you, she's not what you think she is. And Trump, well, maybe he's just standing in his own ego. Maybe he just likes the whole, pomp and ceremony of everything, and the fact that he wants to be the president. But they're all controlled. It's a Muppet show. It really is. In most countries it's the same thing. Ireland is no different. It's a Muppet show. There's a government behind the government. They're just the puppets that run it, are the figureheads. And behind the governments, there's a shadow government. And they're the people that control everything. But there you go.
I actually had a conversation with some people in work during the week in relation to the whole election fiasco, or whatever you want to call it. And a lot of people seem to be coming around to the idea that it's not even good cop, bad cop anymore. It's just a case of two bad apples. That's what they're both two bad apples. They're both slinging muck from one side to the other and trying to, make the other one look bad or worse than she already is. And it's a case of, when you think about it, anyone, as they say, anybody can become president. And it has boiled down to two candidates, as I refer to two bad apples. So you have a choice of bad apple A or bad apple B. So there is no good apple in there, which I think is a shame.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
But unfortunately, that's the way it goes. And I'm guessing politics across the whole world is no different. It's certainly no different here in Ireland anyway. Anyway, what's next on the agenda? We had Cara Louise Farrelly on there recently, and we have some information from Cara. She said she's doing a fundraiser. She has a fundraiser going at the moment due to an urgent medical crisis. This includes trips to Children's Hospital in Boston, and also medical expenses which are not covered by American insurance, gas, food, and on the table, electric bill. This is because she has taken unpaid leave of absence from her teaching job until January. And she says, since we began the appeal, we have raised £3,050. She finds that to be wonderful. Her goal, she says, is £4,000, though, and the need is urgent. She says she has a PayPal address to which people have been sending donations. It is www.gofundme.com/St. Louis Medical. I will put that up on the chat room there for anyone who may be interested in donating to that. But again, that's Cara Louise Farrelly. She was recently on our show. And yes.
Okay, brilliant. How's your week? Any news? What's been happening?
I'm glad you asked. Yes, just very, very, very quickly. I was at an event yesterday. I was just telling Alan before we came on live. I was at an event yesterday with my son, and my daughter was there, little 3-year-old. She was running around, so I was I had my daddy hat on. I was playing with her and then supervising her. And I noticed a lot of, I noticed one woman in particular. I was just saying this to Alan. She had her phone in her hand, and she was looking very concerned and frightened and frantic. And obviously, to me, because I was there looking after my child, it looked to me like she couldn't find her child. Like there was a distressed look on this woman's face. And she was kind of scanning the room. And again, I thought, she's looking for a child. And I knew my child was playing with a couple of other kids. I'm actually doing a lot of hand gestures here as well, because she was off to the right-hand side. And this woman was kind of looking, but eventually she kind of looked in my direction, and she started walking towards me. And I kind of, now I was there, my wife was there as well, but I kind of thought, hey, this is great. I've pulled. This is fantastic. I didn't think I still had it. Not that I had it to begin with. But she came over and sat down about maybe 2 feet away from me, whipped out her phone charger and plugged it straight into a socket that was just underneath the window ledge where I was residing, and plugged it straight into the phone. And I did notice then on the phone, the Facebook was lit up. So and I just kind of thought, isn't that sad that in today's society, this woman was obviously near panic attack because she was almost out of battery life and was soon to be disconnected from social/anti-social media. So of course, after that incident, I was just kind of watching people who were also at this event. It was a martial arts event. And a lot of people were there watching their own children, and obviously when their own children weren't up on the mats, the mammies and daddies, a lot of them were actually on their phones. And as I say, some people just from, I was having a bit of a look around. Some people were texting, and a lot of people were actually on Facebook. And I just thought, is that where we've come? That there are people sitting down in an arena. We're all there, because we're all there watching our kids doing martial arts, but yet nobody was really talking to one another. They were all just kind of stuck in their phones, all heads down. It was actually, it was kind of reminiscent of bingo back in the day, eyes down, all, and waiting for the numbers to be called. So I did notice a lot of this was actually going on. And then I came home and I said, I'm going to do a little experiment. And what I did was I had a look at some videos in relation to how social media or Facebook or smartphones are actually affecting the way people communicate with one another or don't communicate with one another. So watch some videos, and I went onto Facebook, and I have to say I do have a Facebook account. I don't use it very often. Anyone who knows me will testify to that. It's more of a tool than anything else, but a tool to educate people. So I put these links to these 3 videos up there, just kind of detailing smartphone and Facebook addiction and how it affects one's life and the people around you, your loved ones. And I have to say, I only got 2 replies so far. 2 replies. One was from my wife having a pop, saying if you don't like it, delete it. But I had to explain to her what I was doing. And then the other one was from Alan with his normal kind of level-headed approach. So I left that there, and I was kind of thinking, okay, so far I've got 2 replies, and that's it. Does nobody want to comment or feels the need to say something?
No, because you have to have your dinner on there. That's why.
Oh, well, unfortunately, I hadn't had my dinner.
Dinner's more important than your relationship.
And you have to take a picture of your dinner and show it to all your friends, I know. So then what I did, I changed the status or the picture, or I think the picture, is your picture your status? I don't know, but I changed the picture to say, excuse me, Facebook is ruining my marriage. And I said, no, that will get a bit of attention. And I don't think I got any comments on that either. So I kind of thought, no one really seems to care. Everyone is stuck in their phone, and they're all kind of involved, or so they believe, in their own little virtual world, but they don't really seem to care about anyone else. So again, anyway, it's taken down now, and it's just kind of a silly picture up on the screen. But it was just there, and it was only there for a couple of hours, and I wanted to see just how many people would actually contact me. And I have to say, people who are your so-called friends on Facebook, no one outside of me wife having the pop, and then Alan with the level-headed response. That's really all I got. So people don't really seem to care. Anyway, that's neither here nor there. It is kind of, as I call it, the anti-social media. Anyone who has it on their PC and logs in from time to time, yeah, you're probably okay. Anyone who also has it on a mobile device, and studies have already come out to say that anyone who has it on a smartphone or an iPhone, you will be picking it up, they say, every 6.5 minutes to check if anyone has messaged you or put up something new or commented on a post or a picture or a link. And they're saying that when someone likes a picture or a comment, that you get a rush in the brain. There's a release of dopamine, which is akin to the same kind of rush you get after you get a hit of, say, the likes of crack cocaine or any drug. That's what the experts are saying. And the more likes you get, the more, obviously, the more you get this feeling, and then people crave it. And then they have to keep putting up more stuff to try and get those likes. It really is like a junkie. So even experts are saying, do yourself a challenge. Keep a little notebook. They're saying a paper notebook, not on Facebook or not online, just a paper notebook. And every time you check your smartphone, just write down the time and how long you're on it for. Because a lot of people get lost. They don't realise that they're on it for extended periods. But anyway, they do say that people are picking it up every 6.5 minutes. And most people who do that will be checking their smartphone at least 150 times per day. So, yes, it's anything but social. I think it's antisocial. Anyway, there's my little rant for today. How was your week?
Right, okay, before we bring James in, just a couple of things. We did send, again, a big thanks to Dougie for being the top guy for the auction, and the money's going to go to a good cause. It's already gone to one already, and next week we're going to be dealing with another group to try and help out. So, and the crystal, Joan received the crystal on Friday. So, again, everybody's happy. So that's brilliant. Great work with that. Very quickly, Richard Cumber's Pain Genie training in it's a medicine training course on the 5th to 6th of November in the Birmingham Buddhist Centre. Richard did pop in during the week to me, for an hour. We didn't have a lot of time to chat with, but the hour that we had, we actually talked about a number of things. So it was nice seeing Richard and catching up on a few bits and pieces. And the last thing on the list before we bring James in, there are a number of groups in Ireland, like Integrity Ireland, Anti-Eviction Task Force, Lay Litigation Ireland, The Hub, and a number of others who are doing fantastic job out there taking on the system. And I see FB reports all the time. Things going like the illegal evictions of Clonlara with unlicensed thugs turning up with no paperwork to evict the family. The good news is that the family are back in their home. Judges in Castlebar walking out of the courtroom when challenged about their colleagues' corruption. Cases being thrown out of court, and a system trying to shut down various websites because their feathers are being ruffled, basically. Fair play to all the groups and the people getting together, by putting their differences aside and getting together and dealing with this overall financial corruption and the cesspit of a system that we have in place. It's fantastic to see the groups getting together and doing that. And in all walks of life, all the things that we do, you're always going to get little Hitlers who are trying to control things and dictate, especially in local community groups and government. And but it's everybody's job who are awake to help expose what's going on, and only then we can have kind of a good society. So fair play to the people and the groups who are doing that. I'd just like to say that because there's a lot on Facebook out there of things that are going on, and these community groups are coming together and helping, and that's what mankind needs. That's what humanity needs. We need to be doing that. But without further ado, we're going to get a guest on because we're going to be playing catch up. The last time James was on Open Your Mind Radio, would you believe, I said earlier, was April 2015. Boy, has an awful lot happened since April 2015. And James is a very, very, very busy man. I believe he's just come off a webinar and now he's doing this interview, and God knows what he has after OYM. He's very busy. But good evening, James. How are you doing?
Doing great. How you doing?
Yeah, brilliant. I know you're very busy, and we got time zone times kind of all mixed up. And is everything okay your end now?
Oh yeah, definitely. I was just on my Facebook, and no, I'm just kidding.
Excellent.
Yeah, I just got off the webinar. I think they got the times mixed up, but I just got off the webinar, so now I'm really good one too. It's
brilliant. Okay, well, as we say, the last time you were on the show was, would you believe, April 2015? Can you believe that?
Yeah, no, it time's moving pretty quick right now.
Yeah, unbelievable. I look back and I said, wow, God, I thought we had James on, later than that, after that date, but wow, 2015 April, unbelievable. James, for any new listeners who are tuned in to OYM, do you want to give us a quick bio on ESETI and yourself, and then we'll get into what's been happening and what you've been up to?
Yeah, well, ESETI's been here about 30 years, and it's ESETI stands for Enlightened Contact with Extraterrestrial Intelligence, and it's gone through a lot of shifts and changes over the years. But no, mainly it's a 70-acre ranch. It's right on the White Salmon River, and it's at the base of Mount Adams, and it's an energy vortex here, and it's probably has one of the highest or most well-known UFO activity on the planet, starting back with Kenneth Arnold, who coined the word flying saucers. There's been all this activity here on the mountain, and we have incredible footage of ships actually coming out of caves up there, and there's a door that opens and ships come in and out of it. And we've been filming it and documenting it for, quite a few years now, and had full-blown contact for quite some time. I think it's amazing. Everybody goes, when are we going to have contact? And I said, when are you going to pay attention? Because we've been having contact here intensely for, the past 20 years, and have been very open about it and showed the evidence. And some of the times we'll have 60 people here, up to 300 people at an event, and these ships come in and put on quite a show. And we have the cameras rolling, and we tell them exactly when and where the ships will appear. And what's interesting is they appear. We did it with Fox News. We did it with the Danny Dyer special. We did it with Paranormal State. And they actually went on there and said both us and their trained psychic that they bring Chip Coffee, both of us, without knowing it, said, look at the east, have your cameras pointing at the east at 10 o'clock. There's going to be a big ship come in. And sure enough, it did. They came in, right at 10 o'clock, exactly 10 o'clock in the east.
Okay. Now, obviously, for people who don't know Paranormal State, because it's not an actual program that was on TV over here, but I have watched it on Cody. And Chip Coffee is a medium that goes with the group Paranormal State, and they investigate paranormal issues all around the States. And you are... they came out to the ranch to have a look what was going on.
Yeah, and what they did is they brought him in blind. They brought him in. They didn't tell him anything about where he was going or anything, and they brought him in, parked him, and then they did an interview right there. Okay, what are you feeling here? And he says, "I'm feeling them." And they go, "Well, who's them?" He goes, "ETs."
Yeah.
He said they want to communicate. They want to communicate. They're here, and that was his first opening here. The first thing he experienced here. And then they asked him, "Do you think we'll have activity tonight?" And he says, 10 o'clock. We'll have activity. And in the east. And so they pulled me aside without even knowing about the other interview. I wasn't part of that. And they said, "Well, when do you think can you tap in and see when the ships are coming in?" And I said, 10 o'clock in the east, have your cameras rolling. And sure enough, they got a beautiful power up. A ship came in and just totally lit up the sky and then took off and went around the mountain, came down, went, above the trees and around the mountain.
I'll tell you, I'd love to, I'm sure Steve as well, the two of us would love to go out to the ranch and have a look at that. I'd like Chip Coffee. I mean, in the program Paranormal State, which I recommend that people who are into the paranormal have a look at that on the Kodi. It's a free streaming package that you can download. And there's a number of them paranormal programs on there for free. I've watched a number of them. They're very interesting if you're into that. And Chip is a really down-to-earth guy. He really, calls it the way he sees it. What has been happening? I mean, you haven't been on since April 2015, which I find unbelievable. How time is flying. What's been happening in your end? Because it seems that everything is speeding up. It's escalating. You guys have your, Trump and Hillary elections going on, and I mean, what's been going on, James?
Well, you know what? It's pretty sad, basically, because this election is dividing people, and that's what they're there for anyway, to divide the people. And, I've seen people that are really awake people really going off the deep end with these elections and it's pretty crazy watching it. And, it's sad, the choices that we get, that we're all, that we all know ever since Kennedy, whoever's been elected has actually been installed, so.
Exactly, yeah, exactly.
All this information right now is coming out, how all the polls are rigged, everything is rigged, and they're starting to uncover all this right now and coming out with it. So hopefully this time around, we won't have a president installed, we'll actually get a choice.
Well, what we have been noticing, and I'm sure you've seen as well, James, they said that this is the year of Armageddon, which is the revealing of information. And by God, every day, if not on the hour, new information keeps coming out of things being exposed and what's going on globally in different countries and governments and everything else. It's unbelievable. Trying to keep up with everything is it's like a full-time job.
Oh, it definitely is. And, that's part of the process I've written about, back in 82. I talked about these times and what was going to happen here in Becoming Gods. And they talked about, the rise of the tyrants and how that was going to come about and, how they operate, what they do. And, their lust for power and wealth is insatiable and they don't care how they get it. And, the whole program, but it also talks about the end game, which we're coming into now, where they actually fall. You're going to see the fall of the tyrants, and you're going to see all of them exposed for who they are and what they've done. And a lot of them are having, they don't have karma, they have truckma coming their way.
So what's your take on the energy hitting the planet and the timelines that we're on at the moment within the next, because people are saying, it's getting to the stage now. Now, we've heard this word soon. Everybody seems to say soon, and we've been hearing soon for the last 6 years. But for some reason, this year, 2016, maybe coming into November, December, January, they're going to be pivotal months, maybe, for what's going on. What do you think is going to happen?
Oh, definitely. It's going to unfold really fast. And I'll tell you what's interesting is that because of the work that we do, and this is kind of odd that people don't realize that a lot of these people in the highest positions, like the Dragon Societies and the Golden Dragon and all these people are fully aware of the ETs and the shift that's happening and what's coming up and how we need to really get back on track if we're going to get through these times and get the help we need. And so they're fully aware of it, and I've been in communication with them. They love the work we're doing here. And we've been, healing the unseen negative influences and a lot of the blocks, the archons and the reptilians and serpent beings and negative grays and, part of the big planetary liberation thing, clearing those energies out so we can get through this shift, and get this awakening healing process going, here on the planet.
And what is the timeline? Do you know? Have you been given any timeline of what's going to be expected in the next month, 2 months, 3 months?
God, we're going to see a total turnaround in the economy. Everything's in place already, and so we're going to see a much friendlier economy come around. A lot of the banksters have actually lost their positions, and new people have taken their place. And we've been actually working with the new people that are taking their place. Of some of these major banking institutions. The Royal Bank of Scotland, the Queen's pretty much thrown in the towel. She's done. And the Wells Fargo and things like that, they've their CEOs are on. And they had to be, because for this new global reset and the other things that are going on, they had to totally change these banking systems to bring that money in, and the new currency.
Yeah.
So there'll be a new U.S. dollar coming out. And they'll be backed by gold, and everything's going to change. And the Federal Reserve and the Federal Reserve notes are going to be pretty much out the window. They have to go because that's the engine, the driving engine for the Archon network or the draconian program we're under right now. And so, we're going to see huge changes on every level here, and it's already well in motion. And
so when you say the new dollar, are you talking about the TRN?
The TRN, I'm trying to remember all the, people send me.
It's like a treasury note because.
A U.S. dollar, yeah, it's a treasury note. It's not the Federal Reserve note. It's gone.
Yeah, because we've heard that, again, this is just what we heard, that what they want to do is they want to shut down the system, crash this financial system, and then bring up another system, and then we're off again. So another Babylonian monetary system.
Yeah. Well, not this time. Basically, what's going on is that they don't want to crash the old system. They want to make a transition.
Okay.
So, and so, because that would really mess things up, for a lot of people. And they're really trying to work it out on a one-to-one basis so they can actually, just trade, the reserve notes for the treasury notes on a one-to-one basis. And then, and eventually just phase them out. And so the treasury will be in control. There'll be the new treasury, which is, in Nevada, Reno, Nevada, I believe, and they'll be taken over. And no longer will we have the banksters here controlling things and ripping us off and having to pay interest on everything. So that's going to be a huge, boon, for society here. It's like a major kick into the economy to kick things up again. So it's actually going to be a really good thing.
Okay.
And because you won't have that massive interest that everybody's having to pay. That's not going to be there anymore. And,
is there going to be like debt forgiveness or something? Because obviously people being straddled with massive debt at the moment and foreclosures and everything else going on.
Yeah, a lot of that's just going to go out the door because it's all based on an illegal operation. And especially in our area right here, the United States of America, Inc. is actually insolvent. It's going down. And there'll be a whole new, the new republic will be established, and then they're out of the picture. And so, most of these mortgages and all these loans and everything are actually fraudulent.
Yeah.
And that's coming out,
Okay.
That's coming.
And does that include Europe in that, with the euro as well, or what's happening there?
Well, you know what? The whole thing about that, all those debts and everything, they could be canceled out easily if the people knew what they were doing in these other countries. And some of them are, like Iceland and things like that. Iceland is the model, that everybody else should be going by right now. They're flourishing right now because they said screw you to the banksters, and actually arrested a lot of them and took over their banks, So, they should be the model for the rest of society. But see, what's happening is the BRICS Union, because you've got, I think it's Brazil, Russia, India, China. I'm not sure who else is
South Africa, yeah.
South Africa and other countries involved now have all gotten on board. And now with them, actually holding the power right now, the Federal Reserve is pretty much toast. It's done. And so that's what's going to happen. And it's a more, that whole program there is much more earth friendly. You might say it's have a lot higher integrity levels in it and things like that.
Okay. And what about the whole issue with what's going on? Because we know that the cabal, if their backs are against the wall at the moment, and which we hear that they are, and they're getting desperate, so they're talking about implementing things, even down to instigating Project Bluebeam. Now, we've heard this from two people, that they've tried to implement Project Bluebeam on 2 occasions, and twice they've failed. So they're still trying to pull that one out of the bag.
Yeah, I saw a picture the other day right over the Twin Towers that went down, and there was looked like a hologram of Jesus, above the towers, and it was kind of in the same beam of the the lasers they have shooting up, and I thought that was quite interesting. That I go, oh yeah, that's them playing around with the blue beam thing, So, who knows? I just think there's too many people educated that know their plans and know their agendas and everything else, that almost everything they try right now is blowing up in their face, and
That's
all the false flag programs they're doing are being exposed, and they're doing their darndest to start World War III, but I really don't think Putin is going to be going for that one. He's going to fall into that program. Yeah,
we've heard that the ETs have disabled the nukes anyway. No.
I always tell people, all the saber rattling going on, and threats of World War III and nuclear exchange and everything is ridiculous, because whatever they launch is going to come right back down. And and be disabled, and they've proven that redundantly that they can go in and shut them down if they haven't already, gone in and disabled. They did it over at Malmstrom. They went in and they just disabled all the nukes there, and they just dematerialized all the arming systems on them and things like that. So it's like, Robert Solis was here. He was here at the ranch and actually got to see some of the ships here as well. But he was telling me that a lot more went on there than just disabling the nukes. He said they were inside the ETs were actually inside, the unit there, walking around, inside the facility, okay. And communicating with people and saying, hey, enough's enough,
What about the whole disclosure thing? Because we seem to be seeing an awful lot more of, they're not hiding things anymore. There are an awful lot of people seeing crafts and seeing things in the sky. And, I don't know whether we call it soft disclosure, but, maybe people are still waiting on somebody to go on TV and go, by the way, this is an ET. What's your take on that?
Well, people are waiting for the government to come on the air and say, by the way, we've been lying to you for over 60 years. We've met some of your contactees with deadly force. We've been allowing you to be abducted, and we've traded technology for your genetics. It's probably not going to happen. You're not going to hear it that way.
Yeah.
And I think, to me, it's kind of crazy to keep expecting, a government that's lied to you for over 60 years to all of a sudden come out and tell you the truth. They're going to twist it however which way they need to. The good news is that disclosure's already happened. They had a poll in Texas where these ships flew over Texas, and they did a poll, and it was like 99% of the people believe UFOs are real, and the government's covering it up. And so they did a Time CNN poll like 10 years ago, and 86% of the people were saying UFOs are real and there's a government cover-up. So to me, the cover-up's done. I don't know why we're trying to force them to tell the truth, the government. That's probably not going to happen. No. But I think it is a good idea for people to come out and tell their stories and just say, hey, this is the reality of it.
Yeah, and I think we are getting more whistleblowers. I'm currently reading a book written by Ben Rich, who was the head of the Skunk Works, who did secret black projects. And he admits in the book that when they were getting funding, that some of the funding would actually bypass Congress and go straight to the Skunk Works for the funding for doing the secret projects. Now, on the day before 9/11, if we all remember, I'm sure we remember when they mentioned that they couldn't find $2.3 trillion went missing, they couldn't find it. Well, there you go. They're even saying it in the book that they're kind of bypassing Congress and giving the money for secret projects and the amount of money they're spending. So,
cases too that it's more like $9 trillion that they can't account for. Yeah. Might be more than that because they have their own ways of getting money too, which unfortunately include a lot of drug operations and things like that. So
yeah, they're involved in that as well. Well, one of the things that we mentioned there last week on the show was the Department of Justice fining Deutsche Bank for I forget now, was it 9 billion or something that they wanted, and heads of Deutsche Bank went over to the States to try and negotiate a smaller fine. But apparently what we've been told is that the collateral accounts have been locked down and the factions cannot get at these collateral accounts. So what they're doing now is they're attacking each other and trying to suck the money from each other. And this is what is going on, and this is what we're going to be seeing. Now, if the factions have been broken into, apparently the Illuminati or the New World Order, whatever you want to call them, have broken down into 5 factions, and there's a lot of infighting going on, and this is why you were getting more stuff being revealed, because one faction is kind of throwing out information that's that another faction has, like the Panama Papers was an example of that. Now, I still think they want war, because war creates money and war creates depopulation on the planet and everything else. So I do think they are trying to push for that by the look of things. Whether they get it or not, I don't know. But things are quite tense at the moment. in the Middle East.
Oh yeah, definitely. And they're made that. I mean, this is all orchestrated. It's a mess. And a lot of the papers coming out now are showing that a lot of the ISIS, the weaponry that ISIS has, came straight. Was involved in that as well. So that whole Benghazi thing and everything else, all that's coming out.
Yeah.
But it's all surfacing and it's all coming out for everybody to see. And I always tell people, it doesn't matter whether I'm talking about it or not, it's all coming out, And it's part of that Armageddon, the great uncovering.
Yeah.
It's part of that process. But I think all this stuff is going to be exposed, and we're going to see who's behind these wars and who's been funding these wars, and eventually I call it the lamestream media. Nobody's even going to be going there anymore because they've been lied to for so long. People are figuring it out that what they're telling them is just nonsense.
What do you think of this internet outage during the week? Apparently a lot of big websites during the week went down, and if people want to check out outages, if you go over to a website, I think it's called, if memory serves me well, downdetector.com, and if you go to downdetector.com, it gives you an idea of what websites are going down, or the status of certain websites regarding their uptime. And there's also another website that you can look at, Norse, I think it's called, I think you might have to Google it, which shows you the hacking that's going on globally and all the different types of hacking going on. So there's a tremendous amount of things going on in the background. Plus we have all the weather patterns going off, the volcanoes and the tropical storms like Matthew. That's apparently that was engineered by the powers that be because they wanted to do various things with that, but they didn't achieve their plan with that. So as you say, there's been a lot of false flags, a lot of things they've wanted to do and they've been stopped doing it, which is a good sign. And we've also heard that people who were working for the cabal because they were threatened to work for them are now in a position that they can walk away and have been walking away from the cabal and turning things around.
Definitely, that's happening on a global scale. What I've noticed is I have to kind of be careful about how much I can talk about, but a lot of these accounts that were locked down, that were designed for the forgiveness programs, the redemption programs, and everybody has different names for them, recently just got unlocked. And what happened is that a lot of those funds got hijacked by top people in the banks, and those top people have been forced to step down, and new people have come in and take their place that are going to be aligned with this shift and what's happening. And it was to the extent of actually generals going in, marching right into their office and taking them out in the parking lot, and having to talk with them, practicing a little unconditional lead. But it was pretty interesting how it's all going down now, and to me it's looking like, through my sources, I've told everybody not yet. Everybody goes, oh no, it's happened. The republic's restored and this, and I said nope, not yet. And I always tell people, watch the skies. As long as you got chemtrails, you don't have a republic.
Exactly, and we have said that. As long as we're seeing chemtrails, and this week there was an awful lot of chemtrails around, as long as we're still seeing chemtrails, we know that there is still a level of control going on.
Exactly. And I don't know why, they're avoiding that subject like the plague, but I would say, when the white hats are in control, these chemtrails will stop, and that's what basically needs to happen. We just got hammered here recently. We've had these storms coming in, and that was all HAARP generated, but we just got hammered here by the massive chemtrail operation right in the middle of the storm, right in the clouds. You could see them just laying layer after layer after layer. So they're very active here, and I think it's their last ditch effort, to try to to shut things down. They're way behind their schedule.
Yeah, we've been really plastered with chemtrails this week. There's an awful lot, Steve. I think there's an awful lot this week. Really, really bad. And we've said that, when we see them gone, then we know that the white hats have taken over.
I just want to know, I mean, if our ET friends are able to go in and disable nuclear weapons, then surely they could just disable whatever the damage that the chemtrails are doing. That'd be handy.
Well, I heard about SILFs. I'm not sure that's the right pronouncement.
I think it is, yeah.
SILFs, where they come along and actually tidy up the chemtrails. But I don't know.
Well, we've heard about them, yeah, but we're still getting a lot of reports of people saying that the aluminium levels in soil is skyrocketing too.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Well, we're getting a lot of help here. We've been watching the ETs actually spin these things into tops, like they look like a giant top in the sky. And the chemtrails, they just spin them up and they're gone. They clean them out. And I have some footage. I just recently grabbed it. It shows a ship coming in and just totally cleaning up the sky, cleaning out the chemtrails and everything. So they are working on that.
Fantastic.
But I wish it was a little more of a bigger scale, that they're doing these things, because it is getting to be pretty toxic.
And it's getting toxic, but people are really getting tired now. And I have to admit, myself and Steve, this is the last show before we take a break for 2 weeks, 2 or 3 weeks, depending on what's going on, obviously. But we're going to be taking a break after 6.5 years because we just need to recharge our batteries. We're just feeling a bit burned out, and a lot of people have said it to us that they just feel, enough's enough. Come on, let's get on with it. Because when you hear people saying, oh, it's going to be soon, we've been hearing this, oh, it's, going to be soon for the last few years. So, but maybe by, December, I'd like to think that maybe we'd be in a different world, or we'd be on the way up the ladder where things have changed, especially after the election. Because one thing I heard, and I don't know how true this is, but I'm putting it out there anyway, because it's always good to put it out there, that there was a memo or some paperwork going around the White House with Hillary saying that on the day of the election, or in around that time, they're going to do a Project Bluebeam. I don't know how true it is. There's a lot of talk on the internet about it. Again, you have to kind of take it with a pinch of salt. I don't know whether you heard anything, James.
No, I haven't. I haven't heard about the Bluebeam program. I know they have the program, but I haven't heard what their plans are with that. But I know that from what I know, you have to look at the levels. I mean, there's the front generals that are just doing what they're told, and there's other generals, and there's layers of generals behind generals, and those generals are coming forward. And there was a program set forward, and I believe it was by Eisenhower set it up, that he said that when things get so ugly and so decrepit and everything, he had a special task force designed to step in and clean house, and clean up all the corruption and everything else. And apparently that task force has been activated, and they are going to start, shifting this and cleaning up. So I think there's going to be a complete, as far as the elections, I don't even think they even matter, because no matter what, there's going to be a big house cleaning. And I know one particular person that she has such a dirty laundry list, and there's no way that she's going to make it through that house cleaning.
So who do you think is going to end up in the elections? What do you think is going to happen?
I've heard different stories about it. I think what's going to happen is that they'll probably appoint somebody on an interim level and to take over. And even if they do, they are kind of keeping the elections going just for the, to keep people out from freaking out, and wigging out over all this stuff. There's like a soft coup going on right now. But I really don't, I cannot see, I'll just say it. I just can't see Hillary, I want to say Hillary, almost, moving into office.
Yeah.
If they do install her, it's going to be a very short reign, very short.
Well, we heard that she died in September, and that's a clone anyway. Yeah,
very good. Yeah, if you see pictures of her, what she really looks like, and her true condition, her health and everything, I mean, she was just, she was just death waiting to happen, basically. And whatever this clone is, or whatever else is going on, even, with all the seizures that she's had, and all the other stuff going on, it's obvious that whichever Hillary it is, that the original Hillary isn't fit to do anything if she is alive. She really isn't fit to hold office. She won't be able to hang in there.
Yeah. Yeah. No, we heard that, again, it's all speculation at the moment, but that Trump or Hillary, they'll declare World War III, or they'll say it anyway, and they'll go out in the media, and Obama will say, well, I'm staying in office because the election's going to be put on hold. And also the other story we heard is that whoever gets in, they won't be in for long, and as you say, somebody will be put in on an interim basis until they get somebody in there who's going to genuine stay.
Well, you see, there's a comment there from Joan. Joan says, Clinton will get sick. Joe Biden, possible. He will do her bidding. So that's obviously a possibility too.
Yeah, but Joe Biden's as bent as, all of them, So I wouldn't put it past them changing him out as well. But we have a few questions there, James, from our listeners. So we'll pass you over to Steve. Steve's going to go through the questions.
Okay, we will start at the very top. A question came in on People's Internet Radio, and the question here, James, is: do you believe that the ETs came from the heavens, other planets, or have they always been here? And whatever they have planned for us, we would never know about it.
Well, basically, it's all the above. I mean, they've always been here. And unfortunately, we don't really need to worry about an ET invasion because the ones coming here are really liberating the planet. They're here to clean everything up. The ones that have been here have been creating a real mess on the planet. So there have been some, ETs here for a long time, even back before Egyptian times. They've been here. And some, the Anunnaki, they're ETs. Whenever you have a bearded god, in all these religions, you're talking about an ET. That's the Anunnaki, were the bearded gods, and so people need to transcend that and get beyond that and realize that, the Creator's omnipresent, within all creation, and get away from these man-made programs and religions,
Yeah. What would you say to people who would have you believe that the so-called good ETs that are going to liberate the planet, that they're just like the farmer, and the farmer, he's just trying to get rid of some of the pests so he'll have a good harvest? Because a lot of people seem to think that we are food for the ET race.
Well, yeah, for some they are. If you get into the reptilian energies, and the Dracos and that, definitely, I mean, that is an agenda going on, but the benevolent ETs aren't going to allow that. And some of that has been going on. That's all coming to a close. The negative interactions with ETs are actually closing out now. The other ETs are coming in and they're very active, in putting an end to this. And so, that's going out the door. And the benevolent ETs, their agenda is just to liberate us. They have to operate under universal law, which is universal peace and brother sisterly love and individual freedom and prosperity for everyone. It's not, they're here to empower us and they're not here to lead us. They're here to inspire us to make our own decisions and lead ourselves. And that's basically what the higher dimensional beings are all about, that are coming in to assist in the process.
Okay, can I just add something in there? Did I speak about that pink cloud last week on the show?
I think you mentioned it, yeah. Okay,
right, okay. I won't go there again. Just something that my partner seen early in the morning, a pink cloud, a flashing pink cloud, and there was people with her that seen as well. And I spoke to Paddy Broussard, who's ex-NASA, and Paddy sent over a photo, and she said, did it look like this? And my partner said yes. And she said, oh yeah, that's one of the council ships. Apparently the fighting in space, because Paddy can hack into the satellites and bypass all the filtering, and she put up a video of space. Now it's very dark, but you can see specks of light going off, and there's 3 different colours. And what Paddy was saying is that is the kind of, the good ETs fighting the bad ETs, but the fighting is coming lower down in the atmosphere, and we're seeing more and more things in the sky. Now, Paddy also put up a camcorder, a security camera video. And initially, I thought it was asteroids or meteoroids coming in, but somebody posted up that is the actual the debris of the ships being shot down, coming into our atmosphere. And it's a possibility. I'm not saying it is, but it's a possibility. Now, if people want to see this security video, go up to the Facebook page of OYM, and we posted up the security video there, and you'll actually see the debris coming in. And as I say, I don't know whether it's asteroids, meteorites, or debris, but it's quite interesting footage there. So this. Sorry, go ahead, James.
I've seen two of them here. I saw them smoke a reptilian ship, and when they hit it with this huge beam, there's a giant blue flash of light, and the ship just turned into powder. I mean, it just broke the bond of everything on that ship, and it just went into a powder form. And they did the same thing with some negative grays that were over the mountain that were interfering with people. They came in, the Arcturians did, and just smoked it, So
it's going on. And Paddy said we have till probably December next year. And that's when, if we don't get it sorted by December next year, well then forget about it. We're not going to get it sorted at all.
Yeah.
I don't know how,
it's getting sorted out right now. It's going to get really interesting.
Okay. Do you think we're going to be seeing an awful lot more in the skies?
Yeah, November and December are the pivotal, months that all this stuff is going to get sorted out. So it's going to get really interesting. And I really, think we need to really get behind, the white hats and the generals and the people that are, actually risking their lives to bring this about, to bring this shift about, because, they're going up against the cabal, and they're trillionaires, and some of these guys are just pure evil. They will put a hit out on their families, their animals, everything, so it's
yeah, they definitely are sick. We've gone through a couple of analogies on the show over time about how sick these people are, and even their families are not off target. They're on the list to be taken out if they start interrupting or interfering with things. But we have more questions for you there, James. So, Steve?
Yeah, Dougie sent in a question earlier. He's wondering, if people believe UFOs are real, then why are only certain people meeting aliens face to face?
Well, basically, it depends. You could have a low-level contact and have a face-to-face experience, but it's probably going to end up not in your highest and best good. If you rise to the occasion, which we have to, you can have the face-to-face with the high-level ETs, but again, we have to match their frequency or get close to it, mainly because it's too hard for them to engage us. I mean, people will actually go nuts if they stood in the presence of some of these beings. It's just because their energies are so strong. And so a lot of it's about rising to the occasion and doing your homework and cleaning up your old wounds and traumas and fears and things like that, because, fear just totally kills the contact. As soon as the fear element comes in, they're gone. They're saying, okay, you're not ready yet. We'll try something else. We'll try you later,
Is that fear of them though?
Well, no, it's just program of fear into us, a fear of the unknown. We automatically fear change in the unknown, and they represent both. But, that's the thing about it. We need to make the unknown known, and then people won't fear it anymore. And that's the work that we're doing here on the radio, and you've been doing for a while.
Well, that's it. We're just trying to get the word out there. And what came into my mind there when you're talking about energy and vibrations, because there is an awful lot of people still don't understand the whole concept that we are energy. And that, if you get a electron microscope and drill down to your hand, you'll see atoms vibrating. And if you do it on a table, you see atoms vibrating. So we are just energy. And so people need to look at the science of this. Now, I don't know whether this would be a good analogy, but when we hear about a singer sings and they resonate on the same frequency of a glass and the glass smashes. Well, yes. If the ETs are resonating on such a high frequency and we go into their energy, well, it's understandable we might go doolally, and because we just can't deal with the energy that they're putting out.
It's similar like that. It's like, the thing about it is if you understand the vibration continuum and things, is that love and joy and bliss are the highest frequencies, and they operate on those frequencies. And fear, guilt, and unworthiness are the lowest frequencies. And so basically what happens is we've been programmed, unfortunately, even through a lot of the churches, to have, fear, guilt, and unworthiness. And those energies actually are detrimental to our lives and contact and our own connection with Source. And so we have to let go of the old wounds and traumas and wrong conclusions from past experience, raise our frequencies, and then we can have contacts. And some of the contacts might be for just a short amount of time, because that's all that you can handle. And then as time goes on, and as we clean up our past, and release the past and heal, they can have longer and longer contacts and more closer contact. And that's what's happening on the planet. The whole planet is the frequencies are going up. All the other stuff is coming up to be healed and released. And the further along we go in this process, the closer they can come and the more contact we can have.
Do you believe that we've heard about the energies hitting the planet, and we've heard that the people who are kind of service to others, that energy will go up that way, but the people who are service to self, that energy will increase in a negative way. Do you see that happening? Do you think that's happening at the moment?
Yeah, it's a great amplifier. The energy that comes in is just a great amplifier, and it doesn't judge. It amplifies everything. But the problem is that if you're on a negative path, that path is going to have negative consequences, and that's going to be accelerated as well. And so it's a downward spiral that's going to be accelerated. So the people that have chosen to be tyrants and have chosen the separation game and the greed and all the other stuff that they're doing, are going to, that program is going to be accelerated to its demise, and that's where it ends up.
Okay, that's interesting. Steve, you got more?
Yeah, just in relation to things that may or may not kick off in November, December, just going back 12 months ago, James, to something that was allegedly said in the Queen of the UK in her speech. There was something alluded whereby last Christmas was supposed to be our last Christmas. Do you have any intel that says that something may kick off and we won't be celebrating Christmas 2016?
Well, basically it's her last Christmas because she's done. I mean, her reign is pretty much over. She's actually, given up a lot of her control, and some assets and things like that, and she's bugging out. She's getting, because everybody's onto it. Everybody's figured it out who's been pulling the strings and screwing up the planet. So I mean, mainly you've got, you have the Vatican, which is in control of the religious programming, and you have America is in control of the military, the military might, and then you have the banksters over in England, and these guys have been just terrorizing the planet for quite some time, and shifts are happening in all three fronts right now, where it's no longer frequency specific for them to continue on on the path that they're on. And also too is that a lot of them are just they see the writing on the wall and they go, okay, we have to either get out of here or probably grab our assets and run.
Well, hopefully they're going to be ejected from the planet, or else because they can't deal with the energy that's on the planet, maybe they're leaving themselves.
Yeah, there's nowhere for them to hide here. I mean, this whole solar system is going through the shift, and it might even be bigger. It's probably happening on the whole galaxy, and there's nowhere to hide. So you can't. It's like the source itself has said enough. It's finished. We're done. With this program, and so I don't know where they're going to go other than creating their own demise if they don't change their ways. Their only way out is to shift and become part of the awakening healing process and shift their energies and assets in that direction. That's really the only way out. And there's a lot of forgiveness, involved in that once you make that choice, because that's just the way it works. But if they continue on the same pattern, it's not going to be pretty, for what's going to be happening with them.
And do you know anything about the AI that's apparently running things at the moment?
Yeah, it's a mess. It's a real mess. But I think there's other higher intelligence that know how to shift that energy too. They know how to clean that up, and they're working on that as well.
Okay, good stuff, Steve.
Yeah, we actually have a question here from Joan in relation to AI. Joan says, how does James see the use of robots in the future? She goes on to say, they've done remarkable work in that department. Will we be able to tell who's who? And I'm guessing what she means is, will we be able to tell who's who between real human beings and the artificial intelligent robots?
Well, that TV program is coming out on on TV over here, Humans. And it's all based on humanoid robots. Did you see it advertised?
No.
Yeah, it's advertised. I'm not watching it, but I've seen it advertised all about humans and humanoids and robots looking real. And there's been a lot of mention sex robots, believe it or not. There's a company producing sex robots, and it's very, I don't know, it's just getting a bit creepy, to be honest with you. It's getting a bit, like you mentioned Facebook earlier, right?
Yeah.
People are getting so disjointed with life because they're getting wrapped up in technology in all different forms. It's a bit scary. But sorry, James, I passed that question off to you about John's query about robots.
Well, basically the Pleiadians have like androids, and you can't really tell the difference between a living one, other than in their voice. It has a slight metallic sound to it. So that's the one thing that they did to make sure you could tell the difference. But, and they use them in a very, they use them for any kind of missions that might be a little dangerous, or they use them for, gardening and all kinds of things, just everyday help. It's like having a friend, a helpmate. But, I'm sure we are going to go in that direction. I think one of the main problems we have on the planet is everything gets weaponized, and that's where we're going to really have to watch out for, that we start weaponizing humans, that are robots that are humanoid, and start going in that direction. It's not going to be, well, and I'm sure they're probably already doing it, basically.
They probably are. I want to put my name down on the list. I want to get one of these robots. The one thing I want them to do straight away is the ironing, because I hate ironing. If they had a robot that did ironing, they'd make a fortune. Right, I have a question here for you from Scott, and Scott has emailed us in his question, and he said, is James aware of any of the recent ET activity sightings over Ireland, Northern Ireland, over the last few weeks? Apparently we had a UFO crash in Northern Ireland, in Belfast, and we all had a big chat. A group of us had a big conference about it, and we were trying to track down what was going on. Have you heard anything?
Actually, yeah, I have. There is a lot of activity there. A lot of it is Pleiadian, and then the Orion Council of Light beings working there. I'm not sure who else. I don't think the crash was a benevolent ship. I think the crash was them taking out, one of the malevolent groups. But we're seeing a lot of that. We're seeing a lot of crashes now happening where these malevolent groups are being taken out, and the Black Ops boys are really busy running around picking up the pieces.
Yeah, doing the tidy up. Thomas did say that to us. Thomas Williams, who's on the Truth, Honour and Integrity show, has very good intel, and he said in the next few months you're going to be seeing a lot more things falling from the sky.
Yeah, and I think you're going to see a lot of our satellites and a lot of the spy satellites and the satellites that are detrimental. A good example is that one, I think Israel, they were launching an Israeli satellite that was a military satellite, and who knows what they're going to use it for, but it blew up on the pad. It never got off the ground. A ship came in and just took it out.
Yeah.
But that's going to be happening on a pretty large scale, because there are a lot of satellites up there that are using all kinds of technology and to actually, drive people crazy, make you sick, make you ill. They have satellites that are sending frequencies out and frequency targeting people with psychotronics and things like that. So I think you're going to see a lot of those come down.
Yeah, I can kind of give you a spin on what I heard from that rocket that did get blown up. It involved Luke Zuckerberg, the guy from Facebook, and basically, this is one story I heard. Again, take it with a pinch of salt. But apparently, there's going to be the pole shift is going to take place. There are going to be earth changes taking place. I'm not going to be talking about Nibiru or Planet X or anything like that. Although there is more talk from Caltech regarding Planet 9, and they're talking about Caltech being like a university of experts, I believe, talking about Planet 9. But the whole idea of that, I think there was a nuke in there as well. But the story I heard was that they want to put Wi-Fi, send up a satellite to that offers Wi-Fi, because a lot of the elites are going to move to South Africa, because that continent is going to be okay when the pole shift happens, and they'll need to have access, internet access, to do what they need to do. So this rocket that was going to be sent up, not only did it have a nuke somewhere in it, but also had Wi-Fi technology, so they could actually have Wi-Fi when they kind of leave the States or wherever they are and head towards South Africa. Now, again, I don't know how true that story is, but the ETs, obviously, whatever they were doing anyway, didn't like it and took it out.
Yeah, definitely. And so, again, they're fully aware of their plans and all the little secret agendas and things like that, and they're going to take a more active role in taking these out,
Right, Steve, you got more questions there?
No, nothing more at the moment. Just in relation to the craft that allegedly went down in Belfast, one of the lads there on People's Internet Radio, he's just saying that he didn't really hear anything about it. So, he's commenting on it. So I've just asked if he actually heard anything, because it would be nice to get some feedback. Because as you mentioned correctly, we were up in Northern Ireland a couple of weeks back, and we did speak with a large group of people. And in the group, there were several of the people who lived in and around where this accident/incident was supposed to have taken place, and they heard nothing. Now, again, did something actually take place, or did nothing take place, or are we to believe that maybe it could be Will Smith, Men in Black with the neuralizer? I mean, you know what I mean. I mean, just when you say that you were missing seeing the pink flash, that's an interesting question. I mean, is technology that advanced in the ET race that something could happen on Earth, and maybe we're not ready to see it or be part of it? So they have the pink flash in the sky, and that's the neuralizer. I don't know. Does it exist?
Well, look at the Men in Black, the movie. They had the crash retrieval team, and when something happened, they had everything arranged. They went in so fast, bang, psh, and then off. Now, apparently, we don't know yet where it crashed in Belfast. We have kind of a few ideas. But nothing for definite. But I had a conference call 2 weeks ago with myself, Miles, Karen, Paddy, and about 5 other people one Wednesday morning, and we're all analysing and talking about information and looking at data. But we still didn't kind of pinpoint where it was. But as Thomas said, and as you're saying, James, that we're going to see more stuff. The fight that's going on is coming down lower into our atmosphere, so we are going to be seeing more stuff. So I just think that everybody needs to be looking up rather than looking down on the mobile phone, and just keep an eye on what's going on.
Yeah, I agree. That I know one thing, when the higher dimensional beings, they have technologies where they can it depends on what the ship's, if they have a ship that's just going around and wreaking havoc and creating a lot of death and destruction or whatever, they'll just smoke it, they'll just vaporize it, basically. If there's a ship that they said, okay, you're creating problems here, we're just going to send you back to your homeworld, so 1 minute they're flying through the sky, the next minute they're in their own sky, somewhere else.
Yeah.
So they have extreme technology like that, depending on which group is coming in. And the ones with that extreme technology are here now, backing up the other ones. And I know the Pleiadians were so grateful that these 13-dimensional beings came in, because they were waiting for that. They were waiting for that event, that was going to be the kicker, you might say, where they're going to step in. And they actually brought in some 4th-dimensional beings, they have time travel and things like that. Well, a lot of the platings are so advanced, they just can't even contemplate war or even deal with it. And so they had to bring in some warriors from their past, go back in time, grab these guys and bring them forward to deal with what they have to deal with. So there's a lot of that going on now. We have a lot of 4D Pleiadians here that are here just to take care of business. And they actually have had some retrofitting on their ships and things like that to bring them up to date so they can deal with whatever needs to be dealt with.
Do you think that Putin is part of the game of chess that's being controlled, or do you think that he has stepped away from the elites and that I won't say he's a good guy. I think he's concerned about his Russian people. I don't think he's concerned about, everybody on the planet. I just think he's taking care of his own people. But that he has stepped away. And we know that we won't say the American government, it's the cabal in the American government. They are trying to antagonize him into a fight. They keep poking him and keep prodding him all the time. And then as soon as he does something, they go, aha, he started it. This is kind of
Yeah, that's exactly what's going on. And I think, I tell you what's really weird is it sounds funny coming from an American, but I really like Putin. I respect the guy. He's had his issues, he's had his past, and he's done, I'm sure, some things that he's probably not totally proud of, but right now he seems to be on the right side of the fence, and he actually stopped that war in Syria and forced, Kerry and Obama to step down by embarrassing the hell out of him. And so, he's been doing a lot to bring about, peaceful solutions and stop the ISIS war. And we've been doing exactly the opposite. So, sad over here in America, if you listen to the mainstream news, everybody's go, oh, we're the good guys, well, we've really never been the good guys. It's like the stuff that we're doing is all corporate sponsored. And we've been the brute squad, for the corporations, and people are finally starting to realize that and saying we don't want to do that anymore. We're tired of financing this. We're tired of the wars. We're tired of the depleted uranium and the mustard gas and the inoculations that you gave to the troops and all the suicides with the troops and all this stuff that's been done. This heinous actions by, these other groups that people are starting to realize that, maybe we aren't the good guys. Maybe we need to really clean our own house and start looking at things, more realistically.
I think that needs to be done. I think the American cousins across the pond need to, when they hear Obama talking about, exceptionalism, the Americans and how great we are compared to everybody else, that's a bit delusional, and I'm sure you can understand that, James. I've been in the States, and a lot of people I'm sure over there, great people, really nice, but you're the same as everybody else. There's nobody's exceptional. We're all the same.
Yeah, and that whole thing is, again, they're trying to play the separation game. And I know, when you go across other countries, you usually get along with the people. There's usually no problem. The people always get along. It's the governments and the institutions that create the problems. And I've seen over and over again, and I think that the good people are starting to figure that out. They're rising up. They're saying, we're not going to support this anymore, and we're not going to play these games.
Exactly. Do you know much about the blood? This, RH negative or rhesus negative that people tend to be talking about now, and different blood groups or blood types that people have. Have you looked into that at all?
I did quite a while back, and there is a lot of basically it means you just have more ET gene, than others, or more, or you're more grounded to the earth. You have more of the Aboriginal gene. I think what's fascinating now is to find out that almost everybody has Aboriginal genes. And so we all are part of that, to one degree or another. We're part Aboriginal, part ET, genetics. And, people are starting to realize that it doesn't matter what color you are. We all have Aboriginal genes in us, and that Aboriginal elders are saying that, look, we're one tribe, we're all together, in this, and that, and we need to start looking at that. We're all one tribe. We're all, the Earth Nation. We're all we all came from the source, but eventually I think we need to transcend all cultural and religious programs and get into unity consciousness and, see the creator in all creation. And that's when we're off this wheel and off this program. But, genetics do have a part to play in this, but we can transcend those when we connect with our soul, and our souls all came from the source, and we're all family on that level.
Exactly. What's now, since the last time we spoke, we've heard about the Mandela effect, and people have their take on what that is. What's your take on that?
Well, we just had a person here do a seminar on that and brought out all the examples, and I tell you, my mind was blown because I remember things differently than they're portrayed now. And she showed all these things, and I couldn't deny it. I go, you got to be kidding me, just things like Fruit Loops and cereals and everything that's been changed. And you go back and you say, no, that was this, and they go, no, it's never been that, according to it's never been that way, it's always been this other way. And you're going, no, I remember it clearly, so it's definitely happening. I think it could be one of two things, different timelines changing and alterations done, because time travel is pretty much a thing that's been going on for quite some time, and we have time travel, and the ETs have had time travel forever. And I heard a story that some of the Black Ops guys were going back and planting books, like metal books and things like that they went back to where, back in time, they knew where something was going to be discovered, and then they left their rendition, of it, and then, in place. And so, 1,000 years later or whatever, people dig this thing up, and here's something the Black Ops planted right along with the other scripture, so a lot of history is being changed right now because of that.
Yeah, you can't believe history, Steve.
Yeah, would that be like we heard there? I think it's a couple of years ago now at this stage, James, where there was an archaeological dig, and what they found was it looked like a ring, for all intents and purposes, made of a metal. It may have been gold, I don't know, but they were saying it was at least 1,000 years old. But when they actually closely inspected the ring, it looked like a small variation of a wristwatch. Could that be one of those things that may have been brought back in time and planted?
Oh yeah, it could be. They're finding stargates and things now. They're digging up big old, stargates made out of foreign material. They don't even know what it is.
That's incredible. Now we've heard again. This is open to your people's opinion on whether they believe it or not. But it's just information that we've heard that they are playing around with the timelines, and they're trying to reset the timeline back to 2012 to change it for their benefit. Now, I don't know whether this Mandela effect is part of it, because like you, James, we've gone through, we did talk about it on one show, and we went through a number of things that we, like Star Wars and Darth Vader and a number of other things. It's just, it's kind of, you think about it and you go, but no, I remember it this way. I do remember it this way. But I suppose there's no way to prove it because we don't have the evidence.
Yeah, I'm wondering. I never thought about that, but there is evidence. I mean, some people have the old picture and the new picture, or things like that, or they have a really old DVD, and you go back and look at it. But what's interesting is some of the old DVDs were changed too, and when they changed it back in time, it changed that one as well. And so it's really bizarre how that all works. But what I've seen some things that I remember real clearly, like the Mandela thing. I mean, I swear I saw that, he died and this, and next thing you know, he's back. And I to the point of, I don't know where he's at right now. If he's dead or if he's still alive or what's going on, because there's so many different stories coming out, on what happened with him.
Exactly. And of course the clones as well. I mean, we have to talk about this. When years ago, I'm sure people remember over here in the news, they announced the first cloned animal, which was Dolly the sheep. Now this was in, I don't know, probably around 2000, 2001. Now I actually, when I lived in London, I actually worked for the company who did the announcement, the PR company who did the announcement for that, because it's life science technology. And so if you think about it, if they're coming out in public and saying they can clone something in 2001 or 2000, then you can guarantee that they've had that technology for 40 years before that, if not longer, and they've been doing it probably with humans.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, definitely. I mean, that's been going on. You've got, they have technology now, and they finally showed it where I actually put a camera on myself, and I could talk, and it would actually imprint like George Bush's face over mine, and I would talk exactly like George Bush and everything else. And they have, hardware that can do that now, where I could go and do a speech and you wouldn't be able to tell the difference between if it was me or George Bush, and totally change all the words and everything in it. And you'd be shocked, and if I put that over the news, nobody would even know it wasn't real.
That's right. We've seen that technology is very, very interesting, that they can do that. And this is why you can't believe anything. I noticed there, Steve, you had a question come in there from Mahatma Coe on the PIR.
Yep.
And he says that how does the guest know all this information is accurate for a fact? Well, a lot of the information we talk about is all about entertaining it. There is kind of a grey area. It's not black and white. You either believe it or don't believe it. Well, the grey area is about entertaining it. And you entertain it and you say, okay, that's interesting, but can you show me the proof? Now, there's certain things that you can prove, because if we went over to your ranch, I'm sure we'd walk out at 10 o'clock and you go, have a look up there. Do you see that in the sky? Yeah, that's powering up. That's a UFO. That's stuff like that you can prove. But the other stuff that we talk about and band around, well, I don't know. What's your take on it, James?
Well, that's why it's so important that people develop their own inner sensitivity. And I call it, your own BS meter. And what I find is that things that will come in, I'll get I'll watch something and right away I go, oh, that's bullshit. Excuse my language. But that's not, that's nonsense. And you just develop that. It's called direct knowing too. And you start, when you really develop yourself to a certain level, you learn to trust that. And then later on, it's actually validated, in the physical world. And that's what I've seen over and over again, is that a lot of things that we talk about, we have the physical evidence. We have the photographs, the videos, the witnesses, everything to back up our story. Even the Bigfoot coming here, even talking about that's way out of some people's reality. But the problem is so many people have seen this, not just one, but there's several that cruise through here every once in a while. And, they've made themselves known, and they come and bang, I have a building here that I'm in, just 2-story, and they come and knock on the second story right where my head is, next to my bed, and late at night, and whoever's knocking has to be at least 8 feet tall. Wow. Or more, so.
Do you think that, you're talking about the BS meter. Do you think that the BS meter depends on your level of knowledge of the subject matter? Because obviously, if you know very little about, say, UFOs, then chances are you're going to call BS more, straight away rather than saying, okay, I've done a lot of research on the UFO side. That I kind of accept, but this over here I wouldn't accept. But if you have limited knowledge of a subject matter, then you're going to call BS. And that could be probably the wrong thing to do. I think, maybe it just takes more research to fine-tune your BS meter.
Well, I think if you are fully tapped into your own inner sensitivity, your higher self, and you learn to trust that and work with that, you're pretty right on. And very few people are on that level, though. It doesn't matter how much knowledge you know about a person. When you just see them talk and watch you're going to get this gut feeling. It's going to go, oh God, this doesn't feel good at all. This doesn't sound right. And I know people that have seen certain people in the field that were very sensitive, but had no knowledge whatsoever. And as soon as they saw that person, they go, "Oh my God, that guy's a reptilian. That guy's working with reptilians right off the bat." And so, that's part of that. I've also noticed too is that definitely the educational part is important. Because, I'll do when that BS meter goes off, I'll go and do the research and look into something and find out, whatever I can about it. And it's usually validated. But, I think
that's the right thing to do. But a lot of people call BS and they don't bother.
Exactly. They don't do the research. And then I have that happen to me all the time because I'll say something that, I don't want to involve myself with a certain person in the field. And they go, "Oh, you're being judgmental, or you're being this, or you're being exclusive." And I said, "No, actually, I just know the frequency of this person and their intent. I picked it up right away, and I don't want to, engage that. I don't want to have that part of my reality. We're trying to hold a high degree of integrity here and trying to, stay within universal law and things like that. And so I don't want to bring that into my camp or attach myself to it. And, and then later on the people find out that what I was talking about, ends up being exposed and that person, is seen for who they are. But
yeah, over here we have in the Irish society, we have a thing, and we normally say, "Oh, that person gives me a bad vibe." And that's just saying, you're picking up on that person's energy. And either consciously or subconsciously you're picking it up and you're going, "Yeah, that person, I'm not going to be with them, I just get a bad vibe off that person." And that's been going around for years, hasn't it, Steve? The whole idea of Steve.
Sorry, I was going to sneeze.
He's having a hard time, Steve. He has a bit of a cold here. And he's
right now.
Sorry?
That, what you're talking about, that bad vibe thing is being extremely amplified right now. And the people that are carrying those bad vibes can't hide anymore. And also people within their systems that work for them and things like that are just fed up and they're, whistleblowing and things like that. So that's part of the process.
Cool. It's, as you say, it's all coming out. It's all being revealed. We have more questions for you there. We have about 15 minutes left there. We have a few more questions there. Steve?
Yeah, we have another question from Joan. James, she's wondering if you have heard of and if you have any thoughts on the Antikythera mechanism, which is supposed to be a small computer that was found hundreds of years ago.
You know what? I think I did hear about that. I don't know too much about it, but I mean, if you go to Michael Cremo's book, Forbidden Archaeology, there is so much evidence in there of diodes and electronic equipment that's encased in stone and coal, and that some of the stuff is 60 million years old, and so there's so much technology out there. I have heard a mention of that. I can't remember exactly what it was about, but I'm not a real left brainer, Yeah. Since I had the near-death experience, I embrace things emotionally, and I see things a lot differently, and it's hard for me to just nail down numbers and facts and figures and things like that. It's seem to be less important.
Right. Well, anyone who's wondering what John was talking about, you can just check it out anyway. There is plenty of information on the web in relation to it. I think it was made by Apple. Anyway, Dougie is wondering, James, can mediums contact aliens? If spirits are in another dimension, then does the same apply for aliens?
Definitely, yeah. It depends on the medium too, because, there's a lot of psychics and things that are still operating under the psychic barrier, which is, they're still, in the fourth dimension or in the astral level. And it's there's a lot of low-level ET stuff there and a lot of misinformation and wounded things and stuff coming through when you work in those. It's not as clean as you would information that you get from a higher level. So it's better to go up beyond that. Some mediums are connecting into fifth, sixth, and seventh dimensional energies, and doing a good job of it. Some mediums are connected into their own subconscious, and they're connected into the astral level, and so the information that they're going to get is going to be, very limited.
Excellent. We have about 10 minutes left, James. What are the positives that we can talk about to finish up on in the next 10 minutes, to just talk about what's happening now and just go over one or two things that we probably said during the show? But just from your point of view, what have you heard? We talked about the next 2 months being very pivotal for society and mankind. Do you want to give us your thoughts on that?
Well, basically I just see, the Earth is going to go through her transition, and she's going to end up becoming, one of the jewels of the universe. The days of tyranny are fast coming to a close, as well as the unseen negative influences are being cleaned up as well. And so, eventually we are going to align ourselves with universal law, and the people that don't align with it are going to have an experience, that they won't be able to continue, running these old programs. So it kind of goes along with a lot of the prophecies. I work with a lot of Native American elders, and I love some of the Lakota prophecies where they talk about, they say there's a beast, and, the beast is 2,000 miles wide, which represents its rain, how long it rains. And the beast is all consuming, it wants to dominate and control everything, and it's all consuming.
Yeah.
And they said, right when you think there's no more hope, that everything is lost, the beast actually consumes itself, and collapses. And that's when the star nations return, and we have this big, new renaissance. The earth is healed, and new technologies come into, both healing technologies and, restoration technologies, and everything is shifted. So that's kind of what I see happening. We're in the fall of the beast right now. And once that falls, then we're going to be, joining the rest of the universe in peace.
Well, again, something that Thomas said, which kind of ties in with what you're saying there, he said that the contract that was in place by the Draco is now null and void, because there was a contract that was signed 16,500 years ago. And in the last few weeks, the last month, that contract has been made null and void. And Thomas was saying that the indigenous tribes are going to be doing a global celebration. And the part of the disclosure, because people will be saying, and they're going to try and televise this, and people will be saying, why are all these tribes celebrating? What's going on? And then it'll all kind of come out what happened and what's going on. And apparently that's going to be planned before the end of the year. Now, is it going to happen? I don't know. We will be getting, we're going to be, talking to Thomas in between that time anyway, and getting an update on what's going on. A lot of the time it seems to be windows of opportunity, and something has to happen to make something else happen, to make something else happen. And if that's delayed, that delays everything else. So it's, you can't get caught up in dates and times, because dates and times change because of what's going on, because the cabal are not gone. They're still functioning, they're still there. And it's like, I suppose it's like a dying lion. You don't want to go up and start prodding it. You just leave it to die, rather than go up and antagonise it. Would you say that would be a fair comment?
And, I think that's a very accurate comment. It's like, it can't feed itself anymore. And, it's so decrepit and so, spiritually and morally bankrupt, energetically bankrupt, it can't continue. And so, yeah, I think that's a very good analogy. It's just, let it walk away from it. Don't feed it anymore. Let it die, and get on with creating a different reality. Create your future the way you want to see it. Not, what we call is to get out of reactionary mind and get into creationary mind, and stop reacting to what they're throwing at you and start creating the world the way you want to see it.
That's it, and that's what we have to do, try and put it out there. It is very tiring, though. I will say, people have been saying to us that they just feel tired, they feel drained, they feel lethargic, because they are battling on, and a lot of people have been doing this a lot longer than we have. I mean, we've been doing the radio show over 6.5 years, we've been awake since 2001, so that's, 15 years. But there's people been doing it longer than that and being aware of it longer than that. And and some people walk away and go, look, I've done my bit for the alternative media, and I've exposed X, Y, and Z, and now I'm just going to get on and pass on the gauntlet to a younger crowd and get the younger people start doing it. And this is what we, myself and Steve, are trying to do also, is trying to say, people that are listening to the show, especially in Ireland, if you want to set up your own radio show and do your own radio shows and get people on and expose what's going on, give us a ring, contact us, and we'd be more than happy to help out with that. I don't know how long you've been doing it, James. How long have you been open-minded and educating people about what's going on?
Well, I mean, ever since I was a kid, I was having experiences and talking about it. But I think very actively, 35 years, I've been very active in doing this kind of work. And, I had one of the masters appear to me. I won't even mention his name, but, he said that, we were getting kind of impatient about things happening, here on the planet and stuff like that. And he said, some of us have been waiting 2,000 years. So it gives us a different perspective on things. So, there's beings that have been working on this for thousands of years, getting the shift, where it needs to go. And like the others too, I feel the same way. I'm tired. I've been hit by everything under the sun. I've been hit by black helicopters, psychotronics, had, bullets shot at me and cars disabled and a lot of death threats and death attempts, things like that. And to me, it's like, I've already died, I've already crossed over. I know where I'm going. I just go, hey, that's the worst thing you could do is liberate me from this body, because then I'll be your worst nightmare, so.
Exactly.
Yeah, I'm not really worried about it. But, again, yeah, it is. This is the 11th hour, and all this stuff is going to fold in on itself. And it has been a long, rough journey. And a lot of us have taken a lot of hits, especially the pioneers on the forefront,
Well, I remember Laura Eisenhower saying that to us when she came on our show, that the 5 years between 2013 and 2017 were the most pivotal. That's when everything's going to start happening and the changes are going to take place. And in them 5 years, and after that, hopefully it starts getting easier. But they're the 5 years that we are going to be kind of feeling everything, and things are going to get worse.
Exactly. And I think the next 2 months, we're going to go through some huge shifts just in the next 2 months, and then we're going to really start going uphill fast. It's going to be worth hanging around. So we just have to really hang in there and do what we need to do for the next couple of months, and then I think by then, the white hats and the generals and everything else will have things, where they need to be, and we'll be back on track with the Republic, and we'll get rid of all these phony justice systems and these phony organizations and institutions. They're going to be going by the wayside, and there's going to be so much abundance because, the tyrants and the controllers are going to be done, and those that, have suppressed humanity's prosperity and their awakening and healing, that's going to be gone. So everything's going to just, take a quantum leap forward.
That's good news. Steve, you have a question before we...
Yeah, just wondering very quickly, James, if we're going to go through some massive changes over the next 2 months, will it be a case of, will it be a per individual basis whereby you'll go through a change on a level and I'll go through a different change, or will it be a case of the whole mankind will go through a change insofar as that people who we've been trying to wake up will come to us and go, I get it. Will it be that massive an awakening?
Well, what's happening is it is individual. I always tell people, I don't know where we're at. Aren't we about 8 billion people? But people are asking about, what's going to happen in the future. And I go, well, there's about 8 billion futures happening out there right now because everybody's creating their own reality. But there are going to be group events and things like that happening. And, to some people, let's say if you're just on the East Coast and got slammed by that hurricane, I mean, you just went through your own personal little tribulation and things like that. Whereas somebody that might be somewhere else, might experience something different. And if you're in the Philippines, you've been living on an island or living on a beach and you've been having, everything's been great, you're in total heaven, for a while. And then all of a sudden the hurricane hits and then you're in hell and everybody else is in heaven, So I think it's a series of events that are unfolding, and it's going to be different in different places, and it depends on where you live and if you follow your inner guidance, as to where you need to be. And I also think too is that there's different timelines out there, and we just need to be on the right one,
Well, we've got to that time. Thanks, James. I would say, I know where I'm going. I just don't know how I'm going to get there. But that's the way I see things. James, thanks a lot for coming on. I know you were very busy and you were on a webinar before us, and everything going on. Please thank Ashley for organising everything. She is a star. She's doing a fantastic job, and she's trying to please everybody, and she's done a great job organising and getting things sorted. So please pass on our thanks to Ashley. But before we let you go, I'm going to pass you over to Steve, and Steve's going to get all your details so people know where to find you. Steve.
Yes, again, I want to say thanks as well, James. It's been great information. The 2 hours have absolutely flown in, and as Alan said, thank you for your time. We do know you are a busy man. We do have your website, which I'm going to throw out, eceti.org. That is your website. Do you want to maybe throw in a couple of comments there, or if you have any other links that you want people to know about?
Yeah, if people want to go to private invitation, eceti.com, they can get all the latest updates on what's happening here at the ranch and the upcoming events, and find out more about things. And the website is really, we're redoing the whole website. It's out of date, but most information is there as well. So we're going to have a whole new website coming up real soon. But that's the best way to get a hold of us, is just go through the website.
Brilliant. And if people are skeptical over UFOs, I suggest saving up your couple of quid, taking a visit over to James's ranch and see them for yourself. There you go. There's the proof. And if you go over there and you don't see anything, well, that's fine. But for people who are skeptical, still skeptical, there's so much evidence out there. But people who are still skeptical, well, then put your money where your mouth is and take a visit over to the ranch, and I'm sure James would be happy to bring you out at 10 o'clock to see the power-ups. And that's one way to kind of sort out the skeptics. But James, thanks very much for being on the show. Much appreciated. We will touch base again in the new year, and we'll get you on, and if you have the time, and we will then kind of, swap notes and compare notes and go, wow, I'd like to say that November and December was a fantastic month and things are on the up. That's what I'd like to happen next year if we get you on. Hopefully that will be the case.
Yeah, it's going in that direction. I think whatever we can do to push it, over the edge is, I think everybody else has to get involved in that as well, and, take personal responsibility in making the shift as well.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, James, just stay with us there. We're just going to pop over to a musical break, and we'll be back after this.
This is Open Your Mind Radio on OYMradio.com, UnitedWeStrike.com, and PeoplesInternetRadio.com.
Okay, we're back. That was a short version, Put Your Hands in the Air, by Alan Karna, ALINKARNA. You should check out some of his work. It's great stuff. We enjoy listening to his tunes here, and actually we do have some of his CDs left if anybody wishes to buy one. I've said that before, I'm saying it again, definitely well worth the listen. It's on my playlist. I don't actually have a playlist, but I just wanted to say that.
Brilliant. And we have t-shirts as well. Don't forget, we have a few things. Now, as you know, we are disappearing for 2 weeks. Maybe we're going to be abducted in that 2 week period.
Off planet, what do you think?
Yes,
off
planet. Now, we have a couple of projects that we have to do. The solar panel generator, that the upgrade we have to do. And we're going to be, next week we have a planned visit to a charity to sort out some donations there. Again, thanks to Dougie for buying the crystal there and putting a bid on. So that's going to be on the cards. And we have a few other little scientific projects that we want to do. If the parts come in on time, we'll put them up on video and we'll show you, because we're kind of working on a few ideas from a free energy point of view, creating energy and electrics and charging your solar generator and stuff like that. So that's the plan of attack, really. we're planning 2 weeks. It might be 3 weeks. It might be 1 week. You don't know, because there's a lot of things going on anyway. So we don't really know. We don't know what guests are going to be booked in, because I haven't actually contacted anybody. If you look at the schedule, there's nothing on there. It just says a break for 2 weeks. I don't even have any guests booked in, so we don't know. You know, as I say, the world might be a different place in 2 weeks' time. We don't know. We'll see what happens. Why? Why are you laughing at?
I'm just laughing at a comment. The song we played was "Put Your Hands in the Earth," and there's a comment on People's Internet Radio, and it says, "Didn't even have," obviously because we didn't play the full song, said, "Didn't even have time to take the hands out of my pockets, and never mind put them in the air." Okay, it's always good to have a laugh. Okay, yeah, that was funny. Actually, just want to mention as well, in relation to the UFO crash, the UFO crash that we mentioned that may or may not have happened, the artist formerly known as Graham said earlier on, if a UFO crashed here in Belfast, the PSNI would slap a fixed penalty ticket on the craft before it hit the earth.
I totally agree. Oh, down here they would put a clamp in it.
They would.
They'd put a clamp. But no, again, as I said earlier on at the start of the show, there's a lot of fantastic groups out there doing fantastic work, and we need to put our differences aside and come together. The oldest trick in the book is divide and conquer, and we need to be aware of that. And, you know, move away. And I know we keep saying it, but it's, you know, every day I see stuff. I really do. And I come across people every now and again, and, you know, it applies. We need to move away from ego and ignorance and move towards humility and wisdom. And if we did, the world would be a much better place. And we need to question how we think. It's as we said before, it's not what you think, but how you think. You know, it's not what you believe, but how you believe. Because it's how our mind works, how we deal with data, how we analyze the data. You know, is it true? It's either true or false. There is a grey area there, which I mentioned on the show, and it's the part where you entertain it. Entertain the information. That means you have an open mind if you're able to do that. If you feel that somebody says something to you and your first reaction is, that's a load of crap, then I'm sorry, but you have a closed mind because you're not even entertaining it. As James says, if he hears something, he goes off and he researches it just to check it out to see whether it is or not. That's the kind of logical thing to do. But the trouble is in our society that not knowing something is a weakness, and people don't like to know something, so they'll cover it up by saying, "Oh well, that's a load of BS," without actually knowing anything about the subject. And you know, and you can spot these people a mile away, because when you start asking them questions about, "Oh, did you do the research on that?" and they go, "Well, no, I didn't do any research. I just think it's a load of BS." You think, well, that's just ignorance. And unfortunately, it is just ignorance. So we need to open our mind. We need to be able to entertain a thought. We need to walk away from ego and ignorance. And love is the highest emotion. You know, it doesn't matter what the question is. Love is the answer to everything. And that's what we need to be doing. That's the vibration we need to be working on. And, you know, we need to look at your circle of people around you. And the 6 closest people around you, you need to say, is that person benefiting my life? Or is it pulling the energy from me and causing a problem in my life? And if that person is, you want to take them out of your circle. And just surround yourself with people who are positive, that help. And the group that we went up to in the north a few weeks ago were a group of people from all different walks of life. But the one thing that we all got together and talked about and we agreed on is that there's a lot of things going on and there's a lot of talk. Nobody disagreed with each other. We're all open-minded conversation. And if you've never been in a group like that, go and find one, because it will be a breath of fresh air when you're in a group of people where you can talk about anything you want and nobody turns around and disagrees with you, because they know that they have to entertain the thought and they're not afraid to turn around and say, I don't know much about that. I think you'll agree with me on that, Steve.
No,
Oh, okay.
Well, yes, actually, I do agree, because you get to a certain point. Anyone who's open-minded will get to a certain point where they cannot do the mundane, talking about the football, talking about the soap. I don't mean the soap you wash yourself with. The soaps like EastEnders, Coronation Street, stuff like that. You just can't do it anymore because you realise there's just so much more going on. And excuse me, we've come across people as well who were big into their sport, and then an event happened, something happened that kind of shook them from their slumber, and they never went back to sleep again. They're so open-minded that they've walked away from the kind of the mundane, watching the TV, having to keep up with what's on, and having to have the latest gadgets and gizmos, because they see everything is just kind of, it's there to entrap and enslave you. And, well, I believe it is, unless someone can prove different. Again, with an open mind, I'll listen to any thoughts that people have. But, yeah, look, it's all just information as well. We're not trying to tell people what to believe. We're not trying to scaremonger or the fear porn, whatever it is. We're just kind of getting the information, gathering the information, putting it out there to give people an alternative to listen to. That's it, really.
And if it resonates with you, brilliant. If it doesn't, stick it on the shelf and then come back to it, because maybe down the line, a few months, maybe a year down the line, the information will come back in again. This has happened to me and Steve with the Paying Genie and a number of other things where it resonated with us after a while, after a period of time. So just put it on the shelf and then go back to it. Because obviously at that time you're not ready for the information. That's just the way it is. We're all on a path of knowledge. We're all learning. We all have different levels of knowledge. We can't prove the majority of the stuff we talk about. We can't prove because we're not out there. We're not involved in NASA or any of these places. We only go by what we've been told. And if it resonates with us, great. If it resonates with you, brilliant. If it doesn't, we put it on the shelf. We just have to wait and see. But the one thing that, things like chemtrails, we can see them. And when they stop being in the sky, then we can say, okay, something positive must be happening because they're stopped spraying them. So we try and, get down to brass tacks. We try and get down to the meat and veg and look at the things that we can believe in and can see and can experience. And then the other stuff on top of that we can't. We just put it out there to entertain and to talk about and let our listeners decide, whether it resonates with them. So that's really it. I mean, that's all we can say about it. So we're going to go away. We're going to have a couple of weeks of a break, maybe more. I don't know. See what happens. We're just going to take a back seat, really. Get a few projects done. Now, what's going to happen is we're going to be playing. Thomas has kindly let us use the Truth, Honour and Integrity show as a pre-record for the next 2 weeks. Steve's going to be managing that. Now, his show might start, sometimes his shows are longer than 2 hours, so they might start a bit before. But we will send out a Facebook email to let you know what time it's starting. So, if it starts at 6:45, then tune in at 6:45 rather than 7 o'clock. That's really the state of play with that anyway. But we'll keep you posted anyway. We'll send out an email on Facebook so you know. And that's really what's going to happen. So, for myself, Alan James, take it easy, stay safe. If you have any information, email us, and we're going to take a break. And